For over 90 years, we've been crash testing our cars in the tireless pursuit of automotive safety. At Volvo, safety's been first since 1927. We've saved millions of lives with the invention of the three-point seatbelt in 1959. At Volvo, we've made driving safer for you and them. Visit safety.finleyvolvo.com to learn more.
So they say if you give a man a gun, he'll rob a bank. But if you give a man a bank, he'll rob everybody. The good news for you is Private Money Club runs solely on peer-to-peer relationships, which means no banks allowed. So finally, there's a community for real estate entrepreneurs where it is truly a win-win solution. This community is a place where you can connect with other lenders and other borrowers, and the end result's massive growth for you. You get to build your real estate empire, and you get to do it solving other people's problems. So if that sounds like a place you want to be, well then join us. Go to privatemoneyclub.com/Kelly. And if you want $500 off, just add the code Kelly500 and I'll knock $500 off the premier membership. We'll see you on the inside.
Welcome to the Kelly Cardenas podcast, where attitude is everything. And if you're watching today, you're going to see a big old smile on my face. If you're listening, you're going to hear that smile because I get to spend time with one of my great friends. You also probably noticed him from the cool commercial that he just was on just a second ago. It's incredible. And I want to thank every single person out there right off the bat for the people watching, for the people sharing, and for the people that are listening that have helped us to get into the top 1.5% globally of all podcasts. And honestly, it is so humbling because it's really about every single one of you. We have done no promotion. We will at some point, but we haven't up to this point, and it's working. So I want to thank all of you. On our show today, I get this chance to be able to spend time. This is his second episode that we get to spend time together, and we've formed a friendship over the years. And what he's taught me is that it's not about the transactions that you do, but it's the relationships that you build. And if you're a transactional person, you're probably going to get one or two, situations or deals out of it. But when you deal in relationship like this man does, then you look at a lifetime of business deals, of opportunities, and sometimes they don't even come into fruition. But the fact that you have solid people with integrity that are the same in the dark as they are in the light, that's what this world's about. And he has just been a shining example. So here's a couple of things that he has. He's the founder of Private Money Club, and we're going to talk about that. He's the founder of the Money School and the number one money mentor in America. This guy is incredible. He also just let me know, and he was flexing on me earlier because he is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. He's also a keynote speaker, a podcaster, and he's done his own TED Talk. So please welcome to the show the amazing Mr. Chris Naugle.
Wow, man, that intro is kind of like that Volvo commercial where they push the car and it just rolls and rolls and rolls and just keep going.
Oh man,
What's up, Mr. Kelly?
I tell you, it's such a pleasure to be to have you on the show. And where I really want to jump into is exactly what I was talking about. You're a relationship guy. I just asked you about a convention that we just did. We both were there. I got a chance to co-host it, which is Secret Knock. Probably I think the greatest convention in my head. Not because I'm just a part of it and because I'm a co-host of it. And for 2024, we're already secured for that. But I believe it's the greatest in the industry. The reason why, because it's all about relationships. And you told me you had a lunch. So you did a talk and then you had a lunch. And I said, how did the lunch go? And you said, I just wanted to serve people. Can you talk about that? Because most people are looking just simply at the transaction of the person.
Yeah. So when I've been going to Secret Knock since 2014. So I'm not new to this event. I've watched its evolution. But one thing has never changed is the people. The people at the event have always been some of the best I've ever met at events because they're just about building a relationship. Sure, there's one or two bad apples that try to, just sell you something everywhere you turn. But there's always more relationships that are worthy and not the ones that are transactional. So I decided this year we did it last year too, but to do like an off-premise after-hours party. So once Secret Knock ended, you had from 5:30, it was actually about 6, until about 8 o'clock when the next thing started. So what are people going to do? Well, I figured, they might want to get a cocktail and they might want some food. So I rented out a bar, literally walking distance from there, a really nice restaurant and bar, and I just invited everybody. I said, hey, in my talk, I talked about one of the lessons that I teach my daughter, and that is to give generously without conditions. So I did that. I gave everybody their first round of drinks, and I gave everybody appetizers. And I said, come join me. And boy, did they ever. That place flooded. Now, where the disconnect came is nowhere in that invite did I say, hey, come to this event. I'll pay for your first drink and get you appetizers. Oh, and by the way, you got to sit down and listen to me try to sell you something. Now, we all have been to those, right? Where you come, you get the drink, you get the thing. All right, where's the sales pitch? And people are actually like coming up to me and saying, hey, when are you doing your presentation? And I kind of look around and I'm like, what presentation? I just wanted to bring people together to network, to chat. If you want to talk with me, I'm sitting right here. Grab a seat. Let's have a cocktail and chat about it. And people at first were kind of like, oh, I thought you were giving a presentation. I wanted to hear you speak. And then I was like, didn't you hear my keynote that I did today? But it was just weird because people literally are so conditioned to think that when somebody gives them something, that they have to give something back, and that wasn't it. I just wanted to give, man. And, when I told people that, they kind of got it. They're like, wow, that was really nice of you. Thank you so much. And they just went about carrying on their business and chatting, and that was it.
Well, I think it's cool too, Chris, because it solidifies relationship, right? And when it diffuses people because there's not really a back end. There's not a back end. Now, for those of you who have dealt with Chris as far as business, and we're going to get into these things. It's very smart for you to learn about your money and learn and look at it from a different perspective from him. But the coolest thing is, Chris, is it's not something you're shoving down people's throat.
No, I always say, everyone on my team, myself included. I was brought up this way. We are literally taught not to sell. So like my entire sales team, when you get them on the phone, like I know, they're going to go through and they're going to talk to you and do all this, but never once will they ask you for your business. Never once will they try to sell you something. And the reason for that is if we do such a good job at what we do, teaching people how to be the bank, how to take back control of their money, then the person on the other end of the phone should ask us to help them. It should not be us asking them to buy something because a product doesn't solve your money problems. I know they want to make you think it does. Wall Street's got you all confused, thinking, oh, you got to buy this magic product and your life is going to be good. You're going to sail off into the sunset. Literally, like how many commercials have you guys seen where like it's retirement, it's the whale, and then like the person on the yacht just sailing off into the sunset? I'm sorry, but I've been in this business 20 years and I don't think I've ever seen that. That just isn't real. So I figure if we're going to do this, let's do this the right way by solving a problem. And if we solve your problem, then ask us to help you. And that's how every call goes. We answer the questions. It goes, the last question is always from us. Do you have any further questions that we can answer? The other person says, no, I think you've answered all my questions. And then from us, we say, okay, wonderful. Well, if there's any way we can ever serve you, you have my number, just get a hold of me. Oh, well, wait. How do I get started? Boom. You see, I didn't ask for the sale. No one on my team asked for the sale, but because now we served, now they're saying, oh, well, how do we get started? And yeah, then we help them start. And we haven't done this once or twice. We've done this. We have over 7,000 clients in this country. So for those of you that think you have to sell, you have to pitch, you have to have some crazy like double down PowerPoint, pitch sale, and just wait, there's more. All you need to do, folks, is solve somebody's problem and do it from your heart. And that relationship will carry you anywhere you want to be. Zig Ziglar said it best, right? He said, if you will get all you want in life if you help enough people get what they want. That's so simple, but it's so true.
Well, it's incredible too, because when I went to the Money Multiplier event there in Park City, or not in Park City, in Sundance, when we were there, you were more focused on your people that were there, going snowboarding, going on hikes, and hanging out than you were even attending the keynote speakers. And at first I was like, man, what is this dude doing? But even when we're going to Mexico, so we're going in 5 days.
Couple days.
Actually, it's not even 5 days.
No, it's 3.
It's 3 days. So we're going to be down there. And it's incredible because how do you stay in that lane when we're in such a hustle and grind culture, right? In the personal development space, wake up at 6 in the morning, hop in a cold plunge, then do a hot plunge. If you ain't filthy rich on a plane, then you're just a piece of S and you need to do better. How do you stay in this relationship side? Because this is long ball stuff. This is not a short-term situation. Like, where's your bumpers for that, and how do you stay in that realm?
You'd almost have to go back into my past, because I haven't always been like this. Matter of fact, I did it the same way everyone else probably wants to do it, that hustle mentality. And, when I was in Wall Street and all that stuff, I sold, man. I pitched, I sold. Like, that was how I ate. And I was just taught, this is what you got to do. You got to ask for the sale. You got to ask again. And when they don't buy, you got to ask and ask. And, a no is or what did they say? A no is a yes waiting to happen or something. So I did that. But the one thing I realized in doing all that is the only one I was ever trying to serve was me. In the Wall Street world, like, it was always like, keep up with the Joneses, keep up with the other advisors. He buys a new car, I got to find a way to buy a new car. And I did this for almost 16 years, selling. And yes, I always was helping my clients, but I always, looking back now, I was really serving me. I was always trying to make more money, to get more awards, to get more trips, to make more money, to buy bigger car, bigger house and all that good stuff. And you know what? I always felt empty. I never felt like I was truly successful. So now let's fast forward to where the pivot happened. I've lost. So the universe is a very unique thing. And if you don't follow simple laws of the universe, or as I call them, laws of wealth, you absolutely will go through the same cycle I did. You will make a bunch of money, and then at a certain point, coming to a theater near many of you, you will lose it all. And then you will make a bunch, and then you will lose it all. And I'm sorry, like, as a kid, I never really loved roller coasters. Like, going up, it was so peaceful. You hear the birds, you see out like all over. And then all of a sudden, if you're not paying attention, next thing you know, what's are up in your throat, and you're like, ah! Yeah. I never liked that. Sorry, I didn't like roller coasters. I like that journey, that slow journey. And I witnessed in 2014 something I'd really never seen or never paid attention to. And this is after I had just lost everything. My whole real estate portfolio I had built up from 2009 to 14 was kind of falling apart underneath me because of a bank. A bank, we'll probably cover that, but a bank did it. And all of a sudden, I was willing to receive again, because now I had nothing and now I just needed to receive. And somebody introduced me to this guy, Brent. And I remember meeting Brent and just going through the whole thing. And he didn't try to sell me anything. Only thing he said is, have you watched the video? It was a 90-minute video that he wanted me to watch. I said, no, I don't have time. I didn't say this, but I'm thinking I don't have time to watch a 90-minute video. And then he says, all right, well, when you watch the video, then we can do a call. Almost as saying, that's your give. You got to give me your time and watch this video. And then after you give me your time, I will give you everything you want. And boy, did he ever. Never tried selling me anything. Matter of fact, I remember at the end of it, like, I watched the 90-minute video and then I ended up doing a call with him. At the end, I'm like, come on, what do I got to do here? Like, come on, set me this thing up. I had to ask him. And I remember it felt so right for me to ask him to help me instead of him asking if he can sell me something. And then I finally have learned, just by studying the wealthiest individuals throughout history and studying just simple laws, I've realized that one of the most important things is to serve others, to give without any expectation in return. And if you just give, you always get. Now, but if you give to get, you will never get. Matter of fact, it will take it from you. But if you just give unconditionally, the universe will always get back to you. I'm not trying to get foo-foo on any of you here, folks. I'm not one of those folks. But listen, I'm telling you what I've seen and learned and what I've actually done. And what's worked is that. And the other thing I think a lot of people have messed up, and you started to allude on this, and I think this is one of the single most important things, and one of the single biggest lies we've been told in our lives. We have all been taught that we have to go out and hustle. We have to go out and trade hours for dollars. We have to get up early. Now, listen, I get up early, but I get up early just because I'm a morning person. You have to get up early, the cold plunge, the hot plunge, the gym, the cold plunge, the hot plunge, the gym, the sauna. Then you go out, and now we're only at 6 a.m. Yeah, I get up really early. Look, if that's your thing and you truly love that, God bless you. But I don't. Like, I don't like cold weather. Or cold water. I just went surfing out in California. I froze my butt off, and I had a wetsuit on. And I love surfing. And I live in Buffalo, and we'll get to that one. That's a whole nother topic. But we've been taught to trade hours for dollars. And the one thing when you watch the wealthy that they don't do is what we've been taught. because they understand that the most precious resource we all have, every one of you, it doesn't change for any one of you listening, is our time. Because it's the one resource that we can never get back and the one that we can never make more of. It is a single thing that you will never, ever be able to recreate or get back. But yet we just think we should go out and trade it for money. Now let me go to the money part. Money is something we can all make more of. You can always make more money. And a lot of people think, to make more money, I need more time. Wrong. Once you learn how to make your money work for you, because your money's just a tool. Once your money starts working for you, now all of a sudden your time becomes yours again. And you get to go out and do things. And one of the things I've found to do with my time is to serve others. Why? Because it fills me up. It's like a cup that never, ever is empty. Because the more you give, the more that cup stays full. And I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what kind of car you drive. I don't care what kind of house you have. There will all of us will face our maker someday. We will all go to that special place. Heaven is hopefully where you're going. Okay. And when we go there, we're going to have to answer some questions and see what our life was. And I know that someday I got to look this light. I got to look God, whatever you want to call it, in the eye. And I got to witness my life. And I want my life I want to look back and I want to see giving. I want to see how I changed people's lives, because you will never be remembered when people are sitting around your mausoleum, your grave, whatever it is, in your mind. But when people are sitting around that, they're not going to remember the car you drove. Oh man, you remember that Chris guy, that G-Wagon he drove? Man, that was such a great guy. That was such a great truck, wasn't it? Oh man, look at his daughter. Look at that house she's going to get, man. She's such a lucky little girl. She's getting that big old mansion. Oh man, I wonder who's going to get all that money in that bank account. Is that what people think when they're sitting around mourning your death? No. You know what they're thinking? That man touched my life and my family's life. That man changed my life. That man did so much to serve others. That's what you're remembered for. When you think of a legacy, it's not a legacy because of their car, their house, or the money in the bank. It's a legacy because of how they changed your life. How do you want to, what is your legacy, folks? What do you want your legacy to be? The car, the Ferrari in the garage? I don't have a Ferrari and I never will because I think they're stupid. Take me in yours. Like, I'll give you gas money. Like, if I want to go in a Ferrari, Las Vegas has got this track that we're going to be at when we do our experience there. And I could go and pay a couple $100 and I could race that Ferrari around a racetrack with my fancy helmet on, with a co-pilot that will tell me how to take the turns faster without flipping it over like that Volvo commercial. And all I got to come out of pocket is a couple $100. Man, why did I have to buy the car? I could just go race it. And I got lots of friends that have fancy cars. And if I want to drive their fancy car, I can be like, hey, man, can I put gas in your car and take me for a spin? Listen, I just think it's silly. You'll never catch me owning a yacht. You'll never see a Ferrari in my driveway. The only kind of sports car I'd ever buy would be an old one, like an old Porsche 911 or something, that has an iconic meaning to me. That it has nothing to do with what the car is, how much it costs, how fancy people think I am. Matter of fact, people probably look at it and be like, man, that's the car you're so excited about? Why didn't you buy this one? For what you paid for that, you could have owned that Ferrari Spider 4, whatever. Sorry, I don't know Ferraris. But like, that car has sentimental meaning to me. That's the things that are important, not what other people think. Because what did I say in my speech at Secret Knock? Tyler Durden from Fight Club. We work jobs we hate to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't even like. Folks, stop playing rich and start becoming wealthy. And wealthy doesn't mean just money in the bank. It means how you touch people's lives.
So, Chris, my pop would always say to me that every business wants the exact same thing. There's two things that they want. Number one, they want efficiency, and number two, they want profit. But if you look at efficiency, the reason why they want efficiency is because they want more profit. And so most businesses, when they go in and like when I'm consulting with a business, they all want the exact same thing. They call it different things, but he said that there's one way to be able to make this happen. It's give him access. My dad was a consultant also, and he said, give me access to your people. I'll build the people, and then the people will build the business. And I want to stay in this for a second because you have a young lady who is probably one of the best, and you are so fortunate. But also, there's been a building of her that has helped to be able to create events. And without her, a lot of events we know. I mean, and we praise her all the time. And it's Shauna. But can you talk about the value of the people in your organization and how you grow those people? Because Shauna's not a person who rents Private Money Club, Money School, and these events. She owns them. She owns them. And so can you talk about her and the importance of having someone in your corner like a Shauna?
Yeah. So, I mean, Shauna's our everything. I mean, she runs everything. I mean, I report to Shauna. She might say something different, but that's really how it is. And the whole idea when you're, and I've been in business since I've been 16. So I've had a little bit of a head start over some of you. I've been employed for a long time, but I've made so many mistakes. I used to think people worked hard because you paid them more. And I was so wrong. You could pay somebody more than anyone else. But if they're not connected to the culture and to what it is you're building. Now, why did Shauna excel? I mean, yes, I'm sure there's something inherently in her that's different than others. But really, I think it's because I very quickly realized what Shauna was good at and what Shauna was not good at. And I realized the things that lit her up and made her happy and when it made her smile or even cry. Like where she cries, that's when she's happy and when she's touched. And I've also witnessed her doing things that she hates, but she does them just because, it's my job. I got to get it done. So what I've been, and this isn't just Shauna, we could go down through all 20 or so of our staff and our team, and every one of them will do the same thing. I hone in on people's strengths, and I make them leave all the things they hate. And once you shed the things they hate, you put them in an environment of things that really they thrive at, things that they're good at. They will excel at a pace that you could never, ever train them on. They will excel at a pace that will blow you out of the water. And it isn't because they get paid more money. Now, over time, as they start to evolve in this, you find ways to make them benefit by, actually, I got something really special I got to show you. Come here, Viv. My daughter just walked in. Now, my daughter is never here. So when you talk about somebody that excels and thrives, this little girl right here is the one. Check this one out. Say hi, Vivi.
How are you doing, Vivi? How are you doing? My name is Uncle Kelly.
Uncle Kelly, Vivi. Say hi, Uncle Kelly. Say hi, Uncle Kelly.
We'll learn. What I do with young children is when I first meet them, I say that over and over, and I do it in a song. So I say, Uncle Kelly, Uncle Kelly, Uncle Kelly, Uncle Kelly. And I keep doing it until they remember my name.
Well, thanks for joining us on the podcast, Vivi. Do you want to say bye-bye? Can I have a hug?
Vivi must be with the other most important woman in your life too.
She is, and she's right over here. Yeah, we just lost their kitty cat this weekend, so I think they were out looking at another kitty cat to kind of fill that spot, which you never can, but nonetheless. So sorry to
no, you're good.
Get off topic, but when we're talking about the most important people in our lives, I mean, there it is.
That's what I'm talking about.
Getting back to to Shauna and the team. I've really gotten good at just watching the team, seeing what they excel at, making sure that they get paid really well when they move the needle and what they're doing and what they love. But I've also done a much better job of finding out what they don't like and what upsets them and what areas they're in. Like I just had a talk with Gabby, who's second in charge. She handles compliance and all this other stuff. And she's been helping me with a lot of administrative assistant kind of stuff just because we're so busy and growing that, we just needed somebody to help with that. And she gladly stepped up. I didn't ask her. She just said, can I help? Shauna used to do it for me, and then Shauna kind of outgrew it. And Gabby's like, well, here, let me help him do that. I'll do his scheduling. And I knew Gabby never liked it. And I saw this. But today she calls me and she's like, I'm happy to keep doing this. And then she said, I feel like, the capacity I'm working in is your assistant. I said, stop. Don't ever, ever call yourself my assistant. You are not my assistant. You never will be my assistant. You are not above or below being an assistant, but that isn't your strength. That isn't what you love. You hate this. So I said, what I want you to do today is, because you said that, now it's out in the universe, and I know this. And she didn't say she didn't like it. She never would. It's just not how she's built. I said, I want you to find somebody that is the replacement for that piece that you no longer are going to do. And I want you and Shauna to train this person to not just be my assistant, but to also be your assistant. So because when you two need something, she then can handle it and then bring it to me. And now we can create this little unit. So she was so excited about that. But again, see, what I'm saying is with your staff, that, I think a lot of, you can look at nature for so many guides, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, and people in high positions, they feel like they evolve past doing things. Like a toilet overflows and they're like, oh, Sean, go clean the toilet, because as if you've evolved past that. Man, I just grab the plunger and I go get my hands dirty. Soap cleans off all that stuff. Whatever it is. I remember there's a photo that Shauna took one time. We had a big event. And, somebody must have had corn in the toilet. You get the point. So, I heard about this and I didn't even think. I had my entire staff at this event. I just went back there. I'm in a suit. And I went back there and I started plunging, and they snapped a photo, and they're laughing. And I'm like, why are you laughing? And they're like, why are you doing that? You're in a suit. I'm like, toilet was plugged. And they're like, I know, but why are you doing it? And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know, because it needed to get done. You see, sometimes when you're at the top, I don't care where you're at. I don't care how many millions you're worth. I don't care what your title is. You're at the bottom, and you got to sometimes go out and do the hard work, because everybody watches that. And if I didn't do that, like, I guarantee you, if that ever happened again and I wasn't here, Sean would grab the plunger and do it. Wouldn't even think twice. It wouldn't be like, I'm above this. I'm the director. It's just the culture. And, if you watch wolves, and you watch wolves in a heavy snowfall, and you guys have all probably seen this, what wolf is out in the front? And also, I don't know how many of you have ever trampled around in deep snow, but I live in Buffalo, and I've done this my entire life. It is so difficult to go long distances in deep snow. Like, think of snow up to your knees or your waist. Like, it takes everything to get 10 feet. So when you would think about that, if you think about old leaders or even people running this country, like, they're in the back, they're making everybody else go out and do that because I'm above that. But where is the alpha wolf, the lead wolf? Always out front, until that lead wolf has nothing left in it. And then the lead wolf will never give up. It will kill itself, trudging away, making that path. But the second in charge always then takes over. And then the next in charge takes over. That, to me, that's leadership. And if you build a company with that kind of attitude and that kind of mentality, it's not easy. But if you do it, your business will thrive. If you build your business from the back, where you make everybody else go out and do the hard work because you think you've evolved past that, your business will fail. And if it doesn't fail quick, it will fail in the long run.
Chris, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, of which you're going to see your own face too. So it's going to be funny because people are going to see this. And we were joking before we started, and Chris was like, he flexed on me. He actually just did this to me. He was like, yo, I'm a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And he was like, but New York Times is like the real deal. I was like, nah, Wall Street Journal is great. And I said, I'm a New York Times bestseller in my family. That's what I said to him. And you were like, wait a second, because my mom read the Wall Street Journal one time, and she bought my book more than she had bought anybody else's book. So I became a bestseller in the Wall Street. This is how I work my math. But so we're going to go to a quick commercial break. But here's the question that I want you to ponder before we go. You've been talking about the relationship part of it as opposed to the transaction. There are people out there that are in business that are like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. You need to make money first, then you can make all these relationships. So I want us to talk about, when we come back from commercial break, I want us to talk about some of the myths that people have about money, because you have really turned this perspective, and being around you and being your friend, and watching you from a distance and watching the congruency that you have in your life, it's been amazing, because you have really shifted my perspective on the myths that I had that were set up early on about money. So let's go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
The way I see it is, you've got two choices. You can either keep pretending like nothing bad's ever going to happen to you, and then when it does, you're saying, uh-oh, or you can get ahead of what's coming so that when it does, not if, you're ready for it. And you're sitting pretty, sipping on Mai Tais next to the pool, working on that Caribbean suntan, because you got it covered. So folks, it's time for you to learn the truth about money. It's time for you to take back control of your money so that you are ready for what's about to happen. By doing that, you're setting yourself up for absolute success. No matter what comes your way, you're ready for it. And that's what I want for you, and I want to help you with that. So go to chrisnaugle.com and sign up for the Wealth Webinar. We do them every Wednesday at 1 p.m., and you need to be there, because it's time.
Uh-oh, it looks like we piqued your interest in the Hideout. First of all, let me tell you what the Hideout is not. The Hideout is not for hustlers, for grinders, or for people who are looking for a shortcut to what the world calls success. The Hideout is about growing as men, creating lifelong friendships, and having the time of our lives. Are you ready to tap into the endless source that will take you from success to significance? The Hideout is 2.5 days of hiking, biking, and doing the little things that it takes to create lifelong friendships. I find that joy is nothing more than falling in love with your current circumstances and allowing magic to happen. And that's when we see growth in every area of your life. Have you accomplished your goals professionally and financially, and you still thirst for something more? Has success in these areas come at the expense of far more valuable things, like your family, your children, and your relationships? Alignment in business, strategic partnerships, and joint ventures all come from true relationships. The Hideout is designed to get to know people before you'll ever meet them. This is not your typical mastermind. The Hideout is focused on the one thing that will fuel everything: joy. And when joy is overflowing in your life, you'll find growth in your marriage, your relationships, and oh yeah, your business.
We are back with the Money Multiplier himself, Wall Street Journal best-selling author, keynote speaker, TEDx, Private Money Club founder, Money Multiplier founder. Oh yeah, and he's a ex-pro snowboarder, and he should still be pro because I got to snowboard with him, made me feel bad about myself. So, Chris, we were talking about before we broke is, and for those of you who are just joining the show right now, Chris Naugle. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. He's a transformational guy, not only in the financial side of it, but in the relationship building and how to really, truly build a company that is based on the people who build the business, which I think is amazing. We were talking about money myths. Give us some of the top money myths, because I was taught a little bit different about money when I was growing up. It was like the root of all evil. We need to get it out the house as soon as possible and spend it as quickly as possible.
Gosh, there's so many myths. Starting with number one of the myths about money is that money is, well, I'll tell you what it is not. Money is nothing other than a tool. So when you think of money as a tool, it's just like a shovel in the garage. So if you want to make a beautiful garden, you want to dig a pond, you want to dig a pool, like you go grab the shovel. The better you are at handling the shovel, the faster the job gets done, the more efficient it is, the less energy you burn. So money's no different. But yet we've been lied to our whole life to think that money is something grandiose, that we need money to get acceptance, that we need money for our friends. And I get it. Back when I was younger, I just thought people just judged you based on the things you have. Even today, I've never been a person that's a big flash guy. I don't wear flashy watches or anything like that. And I know people that do, and they think that that's what makes people pay attention to them. And that's what makes people like them. If that's what you think you want, and you want people that like you because of the car you drive, the house you live in, the watch you wear, you're filling your life full of very empty promises. So that's one big myth. And I think, another big myth is what we do with money and how we use it. We've been taught to take our money and give up control of our money to somebody else. We've been taught to put money in banks. We've been taught to put money in Wall Street. We've been taught to put money in 401ks. And you're violating almost every single law when it comes to the things you've been taught to do. First off, when you put money in the bank, what are you actually doing? You're giving up control of that money. And if you don't believe me, well, during the pandemic, when you wanted your money back and you ran to the bank to try to take it out, you couldn't get it all, could you? Or when people wanted to take money out of Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, First Republic Bank, Swiss, come on, I can keep going down the line. You realize who was really in control of the money, because the bank takes your money and you give up control of it, and the bank makes the money go to work for them. Your money that you worked for now works for the bank. Think about it that way, right? The person that you've trained, the person that you worked so hard to build up, now works for somebody else. And it was because you screwed up and gave it to them. Also, your money is never going to be worth more than it is today. So riddle me this. If your money's never going to be worth more today, if your money will never be taxed at a lower level than it is today, then why in the world would you ever put your money in a 401k and then wait 5, 10, 15, 20 years to then take the money back when the government says you can, 59 and a half? Because when you take the money back, facts, you are taking back weaker dollars. Inflation has been working against you the entire time. Secondarily, you've probably made more money, or tax rates have just gone up around you because they got to pay back this deficit somehow. Read the book Power of Zero if you want to learn more about that. But when you take the money back, it's taxed at a higher rate. But we've been lied to say, oh, well, I got to save for retirement. I got to get that tax deduction today to then take it out later at a higher tax rate, take out weaker dollars. In all those years, 5, 10, 15 years, you gave up control of that money. How many opportunities did you miss? Oh, I would have invested in that. I can't take the money out of the 401k. I'd have to pay penalties and taxes. I'd love to do it, but I can't do it. How many times have you said that to yourself? That's another myth. Like, you've been told all the things that help them make your money work for them, and you've never been taught how to just be a good steward of your money. You've never been taught how to just make your money work for you like the wealthy do. Only thing you've been taught from grade school straight through college is that you gotta get the skills, trade the hours for the dollars. And if I just keep doing that for 30 years, well, then I'll retire with a pension. I'll retire with this. I'll have more money than I did before. And unfortunately, too many people in this country buy into those lies, those myths. And because of that, they never get to where they want to be.
So, Chris, how can a person a person out there that's listening is like, we hear it, and nowadays we have more information than we ever did. So when I was growing up in 3rd grade, 4th grade, your network was pretty much what your dad said, your uncle said, and maybe your neighbor said, or your friend's dad said. But nowadays we have access to all these things, but a lot of times that information paralyzes people because they're like, there's so many different options. Talk to a person that is maybe that they're in that right now. They're trading dollars for hours. And what is a first step that a person can do, actionable item today that can start to get them on the road? Because it can sound well as far as like, stop trading hours for dollars. And they're saying in their mind, but Chris, I got a family right now. I've got a job that I do work hourly, or I am on salary. What is my first thing today, right now, that I could do to get me moving away from that?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there because that's not just a one answer question. So the first thing we have to do, this is a must, is you have to understand that there's only one thing that differentiates success from failure. Okay? One thing. That's it. So if I just told you what makes someone successful versus what makes somebody not successful, and we're talking financially, success versus not being successful financially. If it was just one thing, how many of you could just do one thing? You could all do it, right? You all would say, oh my gosh, really? It's that simple my whole life? Like, I could be successful? Well, listen, I didn't come up with this. There's been study after study proving this. And you can tell that this isn't working because people aren't following these simple rules. And you can tell by looking at Social Security, because out of 100 people that reach the age of retirement, only 5 of them will be financially successful. That's it. That's the statistics, which means 95% of the people out there will not be financially successful by the time they reach retirement. And here's what it is. It's so simple. Those 5, what did they do different than the other 95? They created. I know this sounds cliche, but folks, this is the fact. They created their own life, their own business. They created their destiny. They created their financial future. They didn't do what the other 95% did, which is conform. So you want to fail? Here's what you do. Telltale proof. You want to fail? Conform. Conform to what other people tell you you should do. Conform to other people telling you that your dream is not good enough, that your ideas are not good enough, that you can't do this, that you're going to lose all your money. That's a stupid idea. That's too risky. When they do that enough times, and it's not just the friends and family around you, because it's always the people closest. It's your parents, it's your loved ones, it's all the people closest to you because they're trying to protect you. But what are they protecting you from? They're protecting you from the unknown that they never reached for, the unknown that they never leaped for. So you want to fail? Conform to what other people are telling you you should do. Conform to what other people tell you that you should do based on their failed reality. Because you know what? Those people didn't follow their dreams. Those people didn't create. They just conform to what somebody else told them. And you had mentioned that, like, we are a component of our environment that we grow up in, but that doesn't carve out who you are. How many people say, oh, my father was this, my grandpa was this, I guess that's the life I have to live. Well, that's conforming. But if you said, nope, if you, like me, I don't come from money. Like my whole family, not one of them are entrepreneurs. Not one of them could be even called remotely financially successful. Not one. And in my journey, when I wanted to open my businesses, when I wanted to do all this crazy stuff as a 16 and 17-year-old, every one of them told me I was crazy. They told me I would lose all the money. That's too risky. This is a terrible idea. You should just do this. You should do that. I've heard this my whole life. But what I didn't do is listen to them. And it was hard. I've always done what I felt in my heart was my dream. So if you just do that, that's the first step. So now let's get to some actual tactical stuff, because that's the woo-woo stuff. So here's the thing. We're in a recession right now. And a lot of you don't know this, and you don't know this because you're still employed. Now, if you've been through recessions or you've studied recessions, you would understand technically we are in one right now. This is March of 2023. Not trying to scare you. I'm just telling you, we are.
How do we know, Chris? Like when you're saying it, and I was just having a conversation with one of my friends, and he's a business owner, and he was like, "No, we're in it right now." And I said, "But yeah. The normal person, a lot of times, is like, you know what? It hasn't hit me yet."
Right.
I haven't seen this yet.
And that's all that matters.
What are the signs? What are the signs for a person to understand that aren't so common that once we start to look for, then we'll start to see it once you talk about it?
Yeah. So the reason most people aren't feeling it right now is, like I said, most people are employed. Like there's still jobs. There's still high the unemployment numbers are very low. Well, it makes sense. We were shut down for 2 years. Nobody was working. Then all of a sudden they opened everything up and everybody was working if they chose to. So the reason it doesn't feel like a recession when other ones did is because you are all employed, which means you have a paycheck, which means when you go out and spend money that you don't have, at least you got a paycheck to pay the monthly payments on those credit card bills. So if you really look now, if you want to know why we're in a recession, just look at the numbers. It's everywhere. It's kind of like that song, signs everywhere. There's signs everywhere. There are signs. Number one, credit card debt, all-time high. And it's rising at record levels. Credit card debt, the worst debt you can have. Well, why would credit card debt be going up? Because people are so used to living a certain style of life, maintaining a certain lifestyle, that maybe they've gone through all their savings. Because, hey, kudos to all of you that saved a lot of money during the pandemic. Most people did. Savings rates went through the roof. So you saved money, but then when it all opened back up, you went on revenge. That's why I call it revenge summer. And you went out and you went on trips and you spent all that money. And then all of a sudden when it was all gone, true, it's right. We did. I know we did. And then you started using credit cards to pay for everything. And those credit card balances are creeping up, but it's okay, honey. We got a check. We can pay that monthly payment. We can pay a little bit of the principal. Until you can't. And that's what's coming. So you can see the signs, but you can't look at the wrong signs. There's leading indicators and there's trailing or lagging indicators. Okay. And a lot of people right now are looking at real estate because, real estate's number one place that makes millionaires, right? So they say, if you're looking at real estate, you're not seeing the signs because it's a lagging indicator, meaning if we're in a recession, you don't even know it in real estate because it takes 6 to 9 months for real estate to catch up. And there's so many other things. Oh, well, that doesn't seem like the restaurants are still busy or this or that. Employment is, I'm still employed. Okay, let's look at some leading indicators, some things that actually are the things you should look at. Know any truck drivers? Talk to them. They're slowing down. They're not getting paid what they need to be paid to move goods and services at these gas prices. Like, it's slowing down quickly. Railroaders are slowing down. Transportation, the number one leading indicator. Just read any Warren Buffett book. That's your indicator. And that is tremendously down. So that's where we're headed. If you're just always looking in the rearview mirror driving your car, eventually you're going to crash. You might get through a couple streets looking in the rearview. Man, this is cool, man. Look at that. Look at that tree go by. Hey, who's that? You're looking in the rearview. But when you look out that front windshield, you can see where you're going. Okay, so we got to start looking out the front windshield. And here's probably what many of people in this country are seeing. I'm employed. Okay, that feels good. I got a check. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. Great. Most people are. But you got a bunch of credit card debt. So the first thing that you need to do, and I'm not going to candy coat this. I tend to be pretty straight to the point, punch you in the face kind of guy. You don't like it? Well, we don't need to be friends because I'm not looking for new friends anyway. I got Kelly. So if you got some credit card debt, the very first thing you need to do is, and you should be writing this down, organize that credit card debt from lowest balance to highest. You've probably heard about this. It's a snowball. It's nothing I created. Lowest balance to highest, not highest interest rate to lowest balance. And then what I want you to do is I want you to make sure you're saving some money. And every time you save up a little bit of money, I don't care if it's enough to pay off the lowest credit card, I want you to take some of that money that you saved and, oh, no, I need that money. I got to build it up. I need my war chest. You're never going to have a war chest if you got debt. So just stay with me. I want you to take that money, okay, that you're saving up, and I want you to, on a quarterly basis, whatever you've saved, I want you to plop it down on the lowest credit card. And then in 1 month, okay, after that credit card balance gets out again, and you can't just keep racking the credit card up. All right, so there's got to be some, you got to be good with your money here. So now you paid the credit card down. Let's just call it a couple $100 that you saved up in a quarter. It could be more, it could be less. When you pay the credit card down, how simple interest works is now your monthly payment's going to be less. Always, not sometimes, always. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at last month's statement and this month's statement. Let's just say it saved you $20. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go into your bill pay or your transfers, and you're going to set up a transfer for $20. Now, whatever bank you bank at, I want you to open a second checking account. And if you just paid down a credit card and you saved $20, that means $20 is not going to the credit card anymore. So that's $20 of freed up money, money that you were giving away, money that you were paying a high interest rate on, probably 20+% in today's. And now you got $20 freed up because you paid it down. The $20 has to, and this is the hard part, this is what people don't do, has to be recaptured. So the $20 should then go into that new bank account that you just created. And it's just going to build up in there. So now we keep repeating, we keep saving money. The next quarter comes around, and on your calendar, you get a little alert, time to pay down a credit card. And you've been making minimum monthly payments this whole time, but now you're going to take the savings from that savings account that you've been saving. Now maybe it's a little bit more. And then we're going to go into that newly created account. We're going to take whatever that $20 accumulated, so 20, 40, $60, we're going to add that here. Now we got $60 more working for us. It's called velocity. We're going to take that, we're going to pay that down on the credit card. Now that first credit card's paid off. And now instead of $20 being freed, you got $100. You got a hundo freed up. You do the same thing. You set up that transfer. So now how much do you have coming over here? 100 plus the 20 you initially saved. You just keep adding it up. Okay. And you just keep repeating this over and over. Now, some of you are like, oh, that's so boring. Right. But tell me it works every time. This isn't one of those, well, it'll work sometimes. Well, if the market does this, oh, well, if you get lucky, it'll do that. This works 100% of the time. But the only way it can fail is if you fail yourself. So now if you just keep doing this, and I remember this is what I did. I was deep in debt. This is exactly what I did. But I didn't keep my money in a regular bank account. We might get into that, might not. But by doing this, what you just did here is you just practice what's called the infinite banking concept. Now, don't associate that with the product. Associate that with the process that we just did. We saved money. We took the savings. We paid down debts. We then took the money from the debts and we recycled and recaptured that money into a newly created, we call it a segregated account. And then the next cycle, I did it quarterly, you then take the savings plus the recaptured money and you just keep doubling down and doubling down. If you do this, think about how much you're paying on your credit cards. I always like people to add up all their credit card interest rates and then divide it by the number of credit cards. I'll bet you your average interest rate that you are giving away every month is north of 16%. I haven't seen one less. Now, let me just parlay that real quick. Kelly, think about this. How much will people risk to make 16% of their money in Wall Street?
Oh my gosh.
People will go out there and they'll put it all on black to make 16%. That's a big return. I just showed you how to make a guaranteed, no risk, 16%. And all you need to do is practice what I just said and take back the money you're giving away. So if you kept doing that, think of all your credit cards. All the credit cards are gone. Then the car's next. Then you pay the car off and you just recapture the amount you're giving away to the car. How much money would be in your bank account if you didn't have to make all those debt payments every month, but those debt payments were still made except for they were made back into your bank? Wow. Folks, like this is the way to freedom. This is how you become financially free, and this is how you build wealth. The fastest way to build wealth is through your own debts and expenses. Let me repeat that. The fastest way for most Americans to build wealth is through their own debts and expenses. You can become wealthy through your own debts and expenses by just not giving money away. Most people ride around the lake in a boat with a bunch of holes in it, and then they wonder why it sinks. I don't know why the boat sank. Dude, you took off from the dock. You had a bunch of holes in the boat. Didn't you plug the holes before you went? No, I just thought the thing would float. Nope, you sank, and now you're swimming. Good luck. But this is just where the fundamental pieces start. And there's so much more to it that we probably won't unpack, but like budgeting, Why don't they teach budgeting in school? Why? My daughter's 3. Like, why aren't they going to teach her budgeting like in, I don't know, first grade? That's elementary stuff. It's a T-chart. Income on one side, debts and expenses on another. What's the difference? Whoa. I mean, any 5th grader could do that, but we're not taught that. And we never practice that. But if we were taught it and we were taught to use that, we'd be a lot better off. You see, here's the thing. Back to the myths. We all think that the education system and the government, they all want us to be successful. No, they don't. They want you to be workers. It was designed that way. Go back in history. Look at the Rockefellers who created some of the education systems. Back in those days, there's nothing wrong with what they did. They needed workers to work in the factories, to build the Industrial Revolution. Like it was all part of the thing. But for some reason, we haven't changed that. So now schools and education is all designed around teaching you to be an employee, teaching you to go out and trade hours for dollars, not teaching you how to do a budget, not teaching you how money works, not teaching you to take back control or just do this stupid little thing with your debts. The people that are going to win in this next recessionary period, this next cycle, are going to be the people that prepared for it, the people that saw it coming, the people that gave up some of the things that we love to do, the people that maybe went out for dinner one less time a week or gave up buying that new fancy car to drive the used car, whatever you want to call it. All those extra things you do in life to impress the people that you don't even like. Yes, those things. Let's just say you gave all those up and you just saved all that money. You'd put yourself in a really good position for what's about to happen. You see, when everything falls apart, and it's going to, you're already seeing it happen. GM just announced 58,000 layoffs that they're going to do. It's not in the public. Oh, I wonder why. That's an interesting one. 58,000 employees. And then Amazon and Facebook and Walt and Disney. And I mean, listen, those are all up at the top. Oh, that's no big deal. Those are the big companies. That will all trickle down and everybody will start feeling the pinch. And when that happens, you will then feel like we're in a recession. You'll see everything falling apart. And at that point in time, the biggest opportunities of your lifetime for many of you will present themselves. The next question is, are you ready to take advantage of them? Because if stocks went down 50, 60% from where they are now, wouldn't you want to buy stocks? If cars could be bought 20% off where they're at now, if you need a new car, wouldn't that be the time to buy it? If real estate dropped 20%, isn't that when you'd want to buy your house and your rentals? Of course it is. Chris, yeah, but I don't have a DeLorean to take me back to 2009. You don't need one because the opportunity's a year, maybe less away. Just got to get ready for it.
So, Chris, when people are hearing it and they're hearing this part of it, and I would encourage every single person that is listening to the podcast right now, number one, share it with somebody. But before you share it, I want you to go back and I want you to listen to what Chris did, his comment right there. And I want you to listen to that 5 minutes over and over and over again until you get it. And this is the reason why, too, for me, my life has been so easy because people are like, oh, you know, what do you do? And I'm like, I hang out with cool people. I have really cool friends. And then I don't have to be good at anything. Like, to know that Chris is my friend, I don't have to, now, not to say that I don't study it, but I don't have to know this stuff because I get to hang out with Chris who does and can explain it to me in the way that he did. Your friends, the books that you read will tremendously increase. So do me the favor, share it with everyone, but before, let's do it 5 times. But Chris, let's go. I want to rewind just a little bit into that. Can you help them with a scope of what type of debt you were in? And let's put some roundabout numbers on it and how, because some people are like, oh, well, maybe he just had a little bit of debt and he was able to do that. But you don't understand the gravity of my situation, Chris, because I needed this bag. I needed these shoes. I needed that car, and I needed a house that was 5 times too big for me. And that's the reason why I'm in debt. There's no way to get out of mine. Can you give them some gravity on where you were when you started this process and how deep in you were?
Oh, I don't know if I'll even remember the exact numbers, but I can tell you the year, it was 2014. Everything was falling apart, and I was making more money than I'd ever made as an advisor. It was just some bad calls, some bad things I did. I didn't know enough about what I was investing in, which was real estate, and it bit me. And
are we talking, Chris, are we talking tens of thousands? Are we talking
it was hundreds
2,000?
Okay. No, hundreds of thousands.
Like, are we talking hundreds as far as 200s of thousands? Are we talking 400s?
No, I think it would have been closer to like 500,000-600,000 with the mortgages. If you just looked at the credit cards, probably about $1.60 between credit cards and lines of credit.
$1.60 just in credit lines and
easy. It might even been more.
Okay, so we're talking of upwards of 200,000 in credit card debt and credit lines.
Easy.
When we add the houses and things like that, then we're into north of.
But some would say that, oh, that's not bad debt. You had rentals. Well, it's bad debt when you can't afford them. And I'm not going to get into the whole story that happened, but it's all over my YouTube videos explain, what happened in 2014. I had 36 units. And the bank pulled the rug out from underneath me because I didn't fit in the square box called the debt to income ratio. Now, that just meant that I couldn't take out my loan for my 37th, but it also meant the bank froze my lines of credit and called. I got a little behind on one of my mortgages, so they called all my mortgages. I was a bad risk for the bank, and I didn't know that bank was selling out to a larger conglomerate. So that hurt me too. But when all that happened, it didn't matter how much money I was making as an advisor. It didn't matter how much rent I had coming in. They literally stopped my ability to continue doing what I was doing, just like that.
How
totally
quick?
Out of my control.
When you say like
Dude,
that, help us.
It happened incredibly fast. I remember, and the guy's name was Greg, right? He was my commercial mortgage broker. And I remember Greg telling me this one day when I walked in there, and the commercial mortgage broker, he said, we can't give you this mortgage. And I didn't really care. It was my 37th unit. But then after that, they told me they had to freeze my line of credit. That was a massive blow because I used that to renovate all my units. Then after they took that one away, then I got a little behind. It wasn't super behind. It was like not long. But then after that, then I started having to sell off properties. Now, it wasn't really the best time to sell off properties in 14. So I was selling them, but not making much. And I had to sell them quick, and then real estate commissions, and I got behind. And dude, listen, when you try to sell stuff and you're trying to do it quick, everything breaks. I remember that winter. One of the coldest winters we had this one ice storm with sideways 60-mile-an-hour winds in the middle of winter. And I get the call at 3 a.m. Pipes broke. And then another one and another one. And this was a house I was selling. So now I got to go in there, fix the pipes on an emergency visit. That's $3,000. Then I got to get people into drywall. Like, listen, I know these numbers don't seem like much, but when you're struggling already and now all of a sudden these things hit you, folks, that's just Murphy's Law. And that's what happened. So everything escalated. It got so bad. Like my wife, who she didn't come in, she just actually went and got us a kitty cat, so she just dropped off next to me.
Did you get a new kitty cat during this episode?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
This is the first time in a history of the Kelly Cardenas podcast that someone has got a kitten during the episode. Do you have a name? Do you have a name for this cat
I don't
already?
know.
You don't know.
So. What's up? What is your name? Kitty. What is your name? Oh, he's pretty cute.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a name, but I don't know what it is. But
so Chris, help me with this too, man, because okay, when all this stuff starts to go, right? When all this stuff starts to go, and the bank is calling on the credit line and all these things. Let's talk about the woman who just brought the kitty in, because most people don't talk about that aspect. Because we as alphas,
I was just
right?
going there.
As alphas, we're like, yo, I lost. Because I remember when I told someone, I was like, yo, in 6 weeks, and I used it as a badge of honor. I was like, in 6 weeks, one time I lost $1.2 million. But nobody asked me, like, how did that impact your relationship with your wife? I would much rather take the hit for 1.2 million than having to look my wife in the face and be like, I made some dumb, idiotic decision that just lost us 1.2 million.
Oh, Larissa, it goes even back further. 2000, I don't remember what year it was, but it was 2008, actually, 2008 and 9. I had taken out a big private loan, almost $400,000 to build a plaza, to build out a plaza that my stores were going to be in. And I remember that's when the Great Recession hit. So my retail stores sales dropped 30%. My financial advisory business froze up, literally, like went from making a couple $100,000 a year to literally probably making 30, because nobody was buying investments back then. Nobody even wanted to talk to me. All they wanted to do is complain of why they're losing money. And I remember coming home after I was going to go bankrupt. I was one payment away from making payments to this lender. So I came home one night. She had just moved into my house. And we've been together 15 years. So that's how long back I'm going. But she had just moved in. And I remember sitting her down and I said, sweetie, I need your help. I need your help paying the mortgage. I need your help paying the utilities. By the way, sweetie, my friend Pete's going to move into that bedroom down the hall. Pete worked at my shop. And my other friend Jessica is going to move in upstairs. As if the next thing I should have said is, any questions? But you see, like, I'm talking about 2008. So she stuck with me there, and that's how I made it through that. Now let's fast forward to this period of time. This one was different. was 2014. I'm selling off all these properties. I'm just going through a very hard financial period of time. So bad that the house that me and Larissa had bought a few years earlier, which is a dream house, 171 Radcliffe, and we had remodeled the whole thing. Spectacular house. I remember we ended up having to sell that house. And that put a big hit on our relationship. I think because it hit my ego, and I probably became a real jerk. And I remember we split. The house did sell. And I remember, listen, like this is how bad it got. I never really talk about this, but I remember sitting in the bedroom of this house. It was being sold, so all the stuff had, pretty much been sold off. But I had my bedroom set. Larissa had already moved out. She got an apartment. We were having some difficulties in the relationship, probably because I was a jerk, because I was going through financial problems, which many families can relate. Money is the number one cause of divorce in this country, number one. And I remember I had put my bedroom set on Craigslist. And this was the day where I'm standing there and the people showed up. And they walked up through my house into my bedroom, and I watched them carry my dresser and my bed out. And all I had left was an empty bedroom. Now that image is a reminder of a place I never, ever, ever want to go back to, ever. So I'll never make those same mistakes. But those mistakes were self-made by me because I didn't understand the things I was doing. I didn't protect my money that I made, my wealth. I never protected. I invested in things I didn't know, like, or understand. And because of that, I got bit. And there was a lot of other mistakes. I was not a giving person back then. I was just an advisor, and I was making money and spending it as fast as I could make. Man, I had 3 Audis in the driveway. I got photos of it. Like, things I didn't need, but I did it because I wanted to impress my neighbors in this new neighborhood that I just moved in as the young guy. And I spent money as fast as I could, designer suits. And yeah, my relationship fell apart. Luckily, we ended up getting back together, but it took me going to Thailand for a month with a backpack to clear my head and realize who I was and what I wanted to be. And when I came back with a vengeance. Kind of, I read the book, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a Grant Cardone book, and it talks about when he hit rock bottom and he locked himself in the bedroom and he wrote that book. And I remember, and I'm getting the story a little wrong. It's been many years since I read it, but I was there. And when I came back, I put things together, but it wasn't just like, boom, I came back and I made $1 million. Dude, it took the better part of a decade. That's the thing. There's too many people out there, Kelly, trying to get rich quick. There is no get rich quick. Getting rich quick means you're going to be poor next. Wealth is a marathon, folks. I don't know. I know it's not what you want to hear, but wealth is a marathon. And if you don't treat it like that, if you don't understand that it's not going to happen quickly, then I promise you, as you make the money and you get rich and you play rich, you'll be eventually poor like I was. And when I say poor, I mean, that comes with a lot of things. I hate using that, but you'll lose it. You'll give it all back and you'll have to start over. And I don't know if this is some sick game that God plays with us to teach us the lessons, but I truly believe it is. When we don't learn the lessons that are put in front of us, he's just like, okay, go back to the end of the line, start over. And you just got to go back through the process. Sometimes I think that's a sick game that we have to play multiple lifetimes if you really think about it. Like until we get this stuff right, I think we just kind of got to figure it out. So the faster you can get this stuff right, the better off you're going to be, the better off your family's going to be. Because now that I've learned these things, I'm 45. I'm not a spring chicken. 45, but now I got a 3-year-old, almost 3-year-old now. And I will tell you, my daughter will understand the 6 laws of wealth. My daughter will know what the infinite banking concept is. My daughter will never understand the way other people use their money, but she will always share what she knows because she will be taught to give unconditionally. Even when other people will be your biggest adversary, she will know, even though, it's kind of like what Jesus said, they know not what they do. They don't, and I don't mean to get religious or anything. I'm a very faithful man, but it really comes down to, like, we have to understand that people just don't know. I got so many haters, and all I'm trying to do is tell people how to manage their money, how to handle their money, how to be a good steward of their money, and I get hate for it every day. I had to make shirts that said, haters need hugs too, because they do. You got to look at your haters as your next fans because they need your help, but yet they just don't want to accept the truth. And, my daughter is my biggest legacy. That's my biggest opportunity in life is her because I get to teach her the things I didn't know, the things I didn't do. And hopefully she picks up even on half of them and can do more in her life because she's going to have time, which is something I don't have. She has got a lot more time. And folks, like all of you have time, but you got to get it right. You got to stop thinking of this as some almighty thing. It's a freaking shovel. Sure, it doesn't look like a shovel, but it's all it is. It's a tool. And until you start using the tool the proper way, and you're not going to learn this in school, you're not going to learn this in college, you're not going to get this kind of advice from your financial advisor. God forbid that. Your banker's not going to teach you this stuff, because you'd be taking money out of their pocket. Because if they're not controlling your money, they're not making money. Think about that. Does your advisor lose money when you're down 30%? Nope, they still get a paycheck.
Can you tell them the difference? Well, this was crazy for me when I understood the difference between a fiduciary and a financial advisor.
This is key.
This was massive. But it wasn't something, because I grew up in Lompoc, California. Shout out to them. 35,000 of you. I love you, Lompoc, California. But in Lompoc, California, people weren't talking about a fiduciary, and they weren't talking about the differences and the impact. Can you talk to the difference between the financial advisor and the fiduciary?
It's a huge difference. And, this is something the average public does not know. So when you get a financial advisor and they call themselves a financial advisor, that does not mean they're going to serve you. That doesn't mean that everything they're going to do is going to be in your best interest. Because unless they're a fiduciary, commonly known as an RIA, a registered investment advisor, most financial planners, if that's the title that they go by, they've got a fiduciary, like they're a fiduciary. So what does that mean? Very simple. They are bound to do the right thing for you, and only do what is in your best interest. Let me repeat that. A fiduciary's only responsibility is to do what's in the best interest of their client. Now, if they ever do something that is not in their client's best interest, because maybe they get paid higher commission by selling a higher commission product instead of the one that maybe they thought their client should do, but I'm going to sell them this one because it pays me more, they're in big trouble. Matter of fact, they could go to jail. Having a fiduciary responsibility is it's a very, I'm trying to think of the word for it, but I don't want to call it a high task, but it is. But you are holding yourself at a very high level. And that fiduciary could be taken away very quickly, and you could go to jail very quickly, because there is zero tolerance for fiduciaries not acting in the best interest. Wow. So when you look at the wealthy, okay, you look at the family offices, all those advisors, they're all fiduciaries. And a lot of those advisors act in a retainer capacity, like an attorney would. You hire them on a retainer basis, and they give you advice that is in your best interest based on your needs and goals, based on where you want to be. And that advice can be used by you anyway, and they will help you in any capacity because they're a fiduciary. Now, let's switch over to a financial advisor, a financial services professional. Let's talk about the difference between the two, because I think Wall Street and the financial industry has done a terrible job. There's these financial services professionals. Now, most of them all of them will call themselves a financial advisor. But if you look on their card and it says financial services professional, that means they've got their Series 6 and 66, which are general security licenses, meaning they can sell mutual funds and stuff you don't want. But if they're a financial advisor, it means they've got their Series 7 stockbroker exam license, which is a much harder license. I had all of these, and I was a fiduciary. But here's the thing. Those two, okay, Series 7, Series 6, financial services professional or financial advisor, they do not have to act in a fiduciary capacity. So when you're meeting with them about what you should do financially, they very well might sell you one of those indexed universal lives so that they get 120% commission. They might very well sell you one of those variable annuities because they get the highest RIP on their commission. Watch Wolf of Wall Street. It's all about the RIP. They all want to make the RIP, or any of the movies, Boiler Room, or any of those old movies. Like, think about that, and then think about, is that my advisor? Is that my financial services professional? Because it very well might be. And listen, I have not a lot of respect for the financial industry at all. I came from it. I spent 16 years there. So I saw a lot of things that I don't even like talking about, just because I don't want to float face down a river someday. But it's just, it's built to work against you. That's all I'm going to say. It's not built to help you. It's built to help it. It's built to help Wall Street. It's built to help the advisor and all those. Now, the fiduciaries, yeah, they're held at a different level, but not all of them always do what's right either. The only person that you should ever really, really trust, and the only person that really should be a steward of your money is you. Oh. And it's not hard. Oh, I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough. No, that's because they've told you you're not smart enough. It's not because you're not smart enough.
So
You
let's
are
go,
smart
Chris, let's go down that lane because, when you talked about that infinite banking concept, which is, and I think people get this twisted because they hear infinite banking and they're like, oh, wow, it's this product that I buy. No, it's a mentality, right? And it's a mentality of how you are able to recycle and reuse and regenerate that money. And you have been able to, tap into something.
Kelly, hold on one second. I got to say bye to the most important one. Come
Oh
here.
my gosh.
Say bye-bye. You get to take what's the cat's name? Oh, we don't have a name. Come here, Viv. Oh, she doesn't even want to say bye. She's just grabbing
She
the
doesn't
kitty.
want to say.
Come
She
here.
just wants the kitty.
Give me a hug. She does. Oh, say bye to everybody.
Vivi, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There we got her. Uncle Kelly.
All
Uncle
right.
Kelly. She can't hear me right now, but that's okay. Yep.
All right,
You can
Viv.
take the
We'll see
windscreen
in a
with you,
little
too.
bit. All right. Thanks. Sorry about that interruption there.
No. That's not an interruption,
Bye,
man.
Vivi.
That's life. It's funny because I had Kirk Chug, who you should connect with.
I know Kirk.
Okay, so I had Kirk on one time, and he was like, "Oh man, something happened. Are you going to edit it out?" And I was like, "Can you edit out life?" And he was like, "Well, you gotta, you probably just take out that piece." And I said, "I don't want to take out anything. I want to make sure that people understand that the conversations that I have with my friends, like yourself, they're real, and that." If they're listening to the podcast, if you're listening to it right now, Chris and I are having a conversation. You get to be in on it. And also, I've never prepared a guest with any questions. And this makes some people mad. This has caused some people to not want to come on the show, but I don't want a person to give any canned answers. And you know this because the first podcast that we had, like, we went to places you had never really gone. We just had so much fun with it. Let's go back to that place because you had talked about this infinite banking concept and mentality, not a product itself, but you have actually been able to perfect a way for people in a vehicle for people to be able to do it. And so what I want to do is, if I was to do this, which my little man, he's 11 years old, if my little man sat down next to me and said, "Hey, Uncle Chris, I'm Maddox. Can you explain to me this process?" And you had to explain it to an 11-year-old. Break it down like you were talking to an 11-year-old.
It's all right. First thing I would say is, Maddox, before I explain this process to you, can you tell me this? Are you willing to change one thing? And if Maddox said,
If it was his socks, he would say no, because he wants to wear whatever socks he wants, Uncle Chris. He wants to wear mismatched socks that way when I do the laundry, I can never find the other sock. So, but yes, I believe he would be open to changing one thing.
all right, Maddox, so if you're open to changing one thing, because I can't change your financial future if you're not willing to change at least one thing. And that one thing, Maddox, is where the money that you save today, the money in your piggy bank, we got to change where that money goes first. Because up to this point, Maddox, you've always been taught to give that money to the nice man at the bank that gives you that sucker when you're done, right? Have you ever looked at the wrapper on the sucker? It says dum-dums. Now, Maddox, you're not a dum-dum, are you? So don't give your money to the people that only give you dum-dum suckers. So what we're going to change, Maddox, is we're going to change where the money goes first. That's it. That's the only change you need to do. So where are we going to put it? Well, we're going to put it in the same place, Maddox, that all the wealthy families have. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Walt Disneys, the guy that started Disneyland, the Ray Krocs, McDonald's. He didn't start it, but he says he did. And all the wealthy people, we're just going to put our money where they do. And then once we put our money there, here's what we're going to put it in an institution, not a bank, but we're going to put it in a giant mutually owned insurance company. Why would we put it there? Because insurance companies are in the business of providing guarantees. And Maddox, you want guarantees on your money, right? You don't want the bad men over at the bank giving you dum-dums to not guarantee your money. You want guarantees. So insurance companies are going to guarantee you interest on your money. Now, Maddox, you've flown in planes, right? So when you're in a plane, isn't it really cool when the pilot comes on and says, "Well, we've got a nice tailwind today. We're going to be landing 20 minutes early. We'll see you on the ground." It's good, right? You're like, 20 minutes more at the pool, 20 minutes more to go enjoy the sun or not sun in California. Anyway, bad joke. You love that, right? So why did the plane get there faster? Tailwind. The environment was working in the favor of the airplane. It literally had wind pushing it. Now, we've also been on airplanes where the plane lands late because of a headwind. We're fighting heavy headwinds. We're going to try to make up time. We're going to try different altitudes, but you can't change the environment in an airplane. When you're flying into the wind, you got a headwind. It's going to make the plane go slower. But when you're flying with a tailwind, your plane flies faster. So as long as you understand how planes work and how headwinds and tailwinds affect the speed and the time at which you arrive, money is exactly the same. When we change where our money goes and we put it into this giant mutually owned insurance company, what we've done is we've literally put a perpetual tailwind behind your money, Maddox, which means now your money never, ever flies or moves or does anything without a tailwind, just like the airplane. So now we've got a guaranteed tailwind behind our money. We call that interest. But also every year, the insurance company isn't going to spend all the money that they take in premiums. That's not their business. They're gonna look at it at the end of the year. They're going to take the excess, okay, we'd call that profits, and they're going to give some of that back to us. So we're going to get a dividend every single year. So on top of that perpetual tailwind, now every year, not guaranteed, but every year we're going to get a dividend. So now you made more money. And all we had to do was change where the money went first. And here's the thing, I know you're too young to really understand taxes, but there's two certains in life, death and taxes. And neither one of them are really so good. So if we can eliminate one of those certains to our money, and that is taxes, that would be a good thing. So now that interest in those dividends that we're going to get on our money in this really cool place, we're not going to have to pay any taxes on it because it's going to live in a tax-free environment and an environment where we got a perpetual tailwind. So now we're already way better off than that other place we used to put our money. But that's only the start. By changing where our money went, we did some really good things, but not enough. Now the next thing is going to happen is throughout your life, Maddox, you're going to want to buy things. You want a choo-choo train, you want a new car, a go-kart, a dirt bike. You're going to want a house someday. And all those things are going to require money. And where are you going to get that money to buy those things? Well, if you listen to everybody else, you're going to go back to that nasty place that gave you the dum-dum sucker, and you're going to beg them and plead with them to give you money for that car, for that choo-choo train, for that house. And you're going to have to give them all sorts of things, and they're going to fight you, and they're going to make you feel like you're dumb and you can't do anything right. Anyway, I'm going a little too far. But what if we just changed the dynamic of what bank we went to? What if this money that we've been saving over in our bank at that mutually owned insurance company, what if we just then financed all the things we wanted to buy? So when you want a new car or a new dirt bike, we go to our bank, that really cool environment where our money is sitting, and we just take the money out of our bank and we go and buy that dirt bike. We go and buy that car. We go and buy that house. Now, we no longer needed to go to the dumb bank, okay? We went to our own bank and we took the money out of our bank. But here's the cool thing. Let's use $5,000 for a dirt bike. You've saved up $5,000. It's been earning interest and dividends, tax-free. And now we found a dirt bike we want for $5,000, Maddox. So we take the money from our bank and we buy the dirt bike. But the cool part is the money never left our bank. That $5,000 that you just paid for the dirt bike is actually still in your account earning guaranteed interest and dividends, except for now we got the dirt bike. That doesn't make any sense. When you tell your friends this, they're not going to understand this, Maddox. What they need to understand is that one place where we changed and put our money at that insurance company, that product that we used is called a specially designed and engineered whole life. Now, most people say that's a terrible place to put your money, but they miss the specially designed and engineered part. So now that we've got this specially designed and engineered policy that we built to do what we're about to do with this dirt bike, when we took the $5,000, the insurance company allowed us to use the money that's going to be paid out when the second certain in our life happens, and that is death. Someday we all are going to die. You can't change that. So the insurance company provided us a death benefit so that when we die, that money's paid to our beneficiaries. Not so bad. So the insurance company just gave us $5,000 of that money that they're going to pay out someday when we die, but they gave it to us while we're living, and they gave it to us in the form of a loan, which enabled us to not have to use our money. Our money stays in our account, earning interest and dividends, and all we did is collateralized the loan that we took from our death benefit. So now you got that whole part. I want you to think of this, Maddox. Very simple. Our money, think of a circle. I'm going to just draw a circle right now, and everybody listen. On the left side of that circle is the money that we've been saving. That's all I want you to think of, left side of the circle. We found a dirt bike. We moved the money from the left side of the circle to the right side. And that was our toy, our dirt bike, our opportunity. But the money never really left our account. So now really we have the dirt bike and we have the money earning interest. But see, remember I said you're going to take a loan from your bank, which is that specially designed whole life? Now, Maddox, you would never steal from your bank, would you? I mean, when you walked into that nice person's bank that gave you the dum-dum sucker, would you ever steal from them? No. You'd go to jail. You'd be put in detention, or you'd be in juvenile, whatever. Bad things would happen. So you'd never steal from their bank. So if we took a loan from your bank, you would never steal from your bank, would you? No, because you got to treat your money the same way you treated the bad bank's money. Treat it the same way. So now, if we just do a quick calculation, we figure out how much that $5,000 loan would have cost from their bank, the dum-dum bank, and we just then take that monthly payment, and we, around the bottom part of the circle, every month, we just deposit that payment into our bank every single month, and that payment's going to mean interest and dividends, because that's what you'd pay their bank. So now a $5,000 loan, let's call it $100 a month. So every month you pay $100 a month back to your bank. Now the cool part is, every month when you put $100 back in your bank, you have $100 to use the next day, plus all the interest and dividends you earned. So all we really did is we just changed one thing, and that was where our money went, and it allowed us to make money twice. You make money on the payments you're making back and the interest that's being charged, plus you make a spread. Okay, not to get complicated about the spread, but how a regular bank works. Yeah, this is the fifth-year-old, so let me explain a spread. Okay, if we just do simple math, if you take 5% and you subtract 1%, what do you got? 4, right? 5 minus 1 is 4. So that means that the person that's getting 5 is making 4% more than the person getting 1. Simple? Okay, that's how regular banks work. But now when you did this with your bank, you did the same thing. Because remember, you took a loan from your bank, and that was the insurance company giving you a loan against your death benefit. They're going to charge you interest on that, so we'll call that 5%. But remember, I told you the insurance company is paying you interest and dividends, that perpetual tailwind, and we'll call that 6%. So if we take 6, what we're earning, minus 5, what we got to pay the insurance company, what do we make? 1. But the 1 is in our favor. We get a spread of 1%. So that's how we make money once. Now remember, when you bought the dirt bike, you decided you were going to be an honest banker, and you were going to pay yourself back. Your bank was going to get the payments every month. So that $100 a month you were paying back to your bank, that included interest. So that's profit number 2. On the same dollars, you just learned how to make money twice instead of once. You just learned how to earn uninterrupted compound interest. In other words, that perpetual tailwind on your money. And that will never change for as long as you live. So, as you get a little older and you start getting good at what Albert Einstein really understood, called compound interest, and then you add the uninterrupted part, now you'll start to see how powerful that is. As a matter of fact, Albert Einstein, that goofy guy with the crazy white hair and glasses, he said it was the most powerful thing in the universe. He said those that understand it earn it, and those that don't pay it. Now you understand it, so now you must earn it, because everybody else is going to pay it, and they're going to continue to get dumb suckers. And you don't need to laugh at them. You just need to share what you just learned, and you need to keep telling them how they can be their own bank and how they don't have to accept dumb suckers, because now they can go to the store and use the spread to buy the really good organic suckers that taste a lot better.
So there's a difference too, Chris, and because we talked about media and we talked about information, there are a lot of places where this concept can go wrong when you don't have a team around you that is built like you've built to be able to educate, to be able to help people through the process. And I've seen amazing concepts, as you've seen in life. A person has a phenomenal concept, and then a person uses it, but they use it and they're not really educated, they're not supported by a team, and then they turn on the concept itself as opposed to the team that was built. How important, and I'm not saying that it's the only, for me, you're the only one that, like in my head, right? That has a team wrapped around that I would trust. Why? Because I have a relationship with you. Why? Because my relationship wasn't built on transaction, and it wasn't built on you coming to me and being like, yo, I want to be your friend just so you could do X. But can you talk to the fact of how important it is to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, as opposed to just watching TikTok and then jumping on the next trend that's happening?
Yeah, it's as simple as me saying to my team, we not only have to understand who our customer is and who our client is and who we can help, but it's more important that we understand who we can't help. That, to me, is the single most important observation that I have to make every day. Who can I not help? Now, in this concept, it works 100% of the time. What I just explained to Maddox, what I explained earlier about the debt payment, it can't not work because it's guaranteed. There's never, ever a circumstance where that won't work in theory and in concept. Now, here's where it doesn't work, and here's the people that I don't want. I don't want people that are trying to get rich quick, because here's some things I didn't say to Maddox and to everybody else. When you put money into this specially designed and engineered whole life, you don't have access to 100% of the money. So if you're one of those jokers out there that loves to go to the bank, make your deposits into the bank, and before the end of the year, go back on, let's just say, December 29th and take all the money out of the bank, and then go online and do a video saying, that Chris Naugle guy, that thing he does with that specially designed whole life, you can't take all that money. See, I just took all the money out of the bank. If you're that guy that puts the money in the bank, takes it all out, just so you can say you did, this won't work for you, because you're trying to get rich quick. And if you're the person that wants to take and make money and then go spend the money and live paycheck to paycheck, this ain't for you either. Because when you put money in this specially designed whole life, here's the bad stuff. You're not going to have access to 100% of it in the first year. Matter of fact, it's going to be between 80 and 90%. That's how much you're going to have access to. And if that's a problem for you, don't do this. It's very clear. I don't need your business. We don't need your business. Like, I want this to work for you. So if you need all of your money, this is not the place. Because remember I said, this is a marathon. Building wealth is a marathon. I'm teaching you how to build wealth. I'm not teaching you how to get rich. Okay? Secondarily, the other downside, that whole thing, a lot of people would save money, because a lot of you know how to save money. You would take the money out that you saved and you'd buy that dirt bike that we were talking about for Maddox. And then you'd be like, well, that was money I saved. Why would I make monthly payments on money that I saved? That's stupid. I'm not going to do that. Great. This won't work for you either, because you have just admitted to yourself that you're willing to steal from your bank, which means if you owned any business, you owned a gym, you'd steal from your gym. You owned a hair salon, you'd steal from your hair salon. You owned a restaurant, you'd steal from your restaurant. Now, it wouldn't be like going to the cash register and stealing money. It would be like every time you went there, you'd eat food and not pay for it. You'd bring people there and not pay for it. And, at your salon, you'd always just do things for free. Maybe you own a grocery store and you'd steal the peas off the shelf. And then when you steal from your business, all your staff watches you steal from your business. And they're like, well, if the boss is doing that, well, I guess it's okay if I do that. And then they steal the peas. And then the customers see the employees stealing the peas, so then they start stealing the peas. You see, it's not you stealing from your business or you stealing from your bank that's going to sink you. It's you're setting a bad example, and you're not being an honest business owner, and you're not being an honest banker. I'm teaching you how to be a bank. And very simply, if you owned a bank, you would make deposits in your bank. You wouldn't go to Bank of America down the street and deposit in their bank. You would always deposit money in your bank. You'd want your customers to see you in line with them depositing in your bank. Listen, I trust my bank. See, my name's on the front. I trust my bank so much, I make my deposits here. Customers are like, yep, that's the owner. He's putting his money same place we're putting our money. I feel good. Then when you want to buy something like a car, you'd take a loan from your own bank, wouldn't you? Of course you would. You'd want your customers to see that car loan being taken out on the car that is from your bank's funding. And then when you took a loan from your bank, you'd always pay your bank back, would you? You would never steal. Matter of fact, if you stole, your employees would watch you do this. They'd do the same thing. Then your shareholders or stockholders or partners would see you do this, and they'd either do the same thing or they'd fire your ass, or the bank would go out of business. You see, in teaching you how to be your own bank, you got to abide by the same rules I just laid out. If you take a loan from your bank, and that is exactly what you're doing, don't make no two ways about it. Oh, no, it's a loan from the insurance company. Bad attitude. This is your banking system, just like it's the Rockefeller's banking system, just like it's the Rothschild's banking system. That's how you got to look at it. So when you take a loan from your banking system, you have to pay your bank back, which means those monthly payments, the same amount I would pay Bank of America, I'm going to pay back to my bank. But here's the difference. None of you are complaining that you have to make a car payment every month. None of you are complaining that you have to pay the line of credit every month. None of you are complaining you have to make the credit card every month. But every month you make that payment for the car, the credit card, the line of credit. Can you just go take that money back? Like, can you just go to the place you paid your car payment and be like, hey, I need that $500 for my car payment back? Nope, not your money anymore, because you don't own the bank. But when you own your own bank and you make the $500 car payment back to your bank, or the $100 a month dirt bike payment back to your bank, oh, next day you can actually use that 500 or that 100. It's your bank. You're in full control of your money, but you never, ever stopped earning interest and dividends on that money. So again, it's not just as that sounds good, but to do that concept requires you to be an honest banker and requires you to be consistent and persistent in your actions And if you're not going to, if you're going to steal from your bank, don't call me ever, because I don't want people that steal. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to hang out with them. And I don't want friends that steal. And if you're, and the worst thief is this thief that steals from their own pocket.
Well, I think it's amazing, Chris, because it's one of those things where a lot of times people think of this as shiny. And when I remember first hearing about it, and I was like, man, I mean, because I'm not that conservative of a guy, like as far as fashion or whatever it is, but when it does come to money wise, I've known over the course of time that, you know, I've never seen magic beans. Being an entrepreneur for, 25 years, 25, almost 30 years, there's no magic beans. There's no silver bullet, right? And where I want to go to now is a thing that I was talking with this little girl. She was an influencer, and it was so incredible because she actually made TikTok a job, which was awesome. And I love to be able to see these kind of things. And she kept telling me, she was like, it's kind of tough though, because the way that my industry is, I'm kind of waiting on a call, because the companies that hire me, then I have to wait for them to hire me, and then I get a job, and then I go do this stuff. But it's great. It's the way that goes. And I said, well, why don't you just create your own ecosystem? And she said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, here's how we did it when we owned salons. I went and I manufactured a product. Okay. So I manufactured the product. And so I became the manufacturer of it. Then I became the distributor of it. Because we had salons all over the country, my number one accounts were my businesses. Okay. So now my businesses then sold to the customer. So here's how it went, Chris. I manufactured the product, right? I already had a buyer because I was the distributor of the product. I already had buyers for my distribution because I was a guy who owned the salons that actually bought the product. So as soon as I manufactured, my distributor bought it, but they bought it at a price that had a hit on it. And then my salons bought it with a hit on it. And then the clients bought it with the hit on it. So by the time it got to the client, it had turned over 4 or 5 times. And so I created my own ecosystem because I knew that I was buying product anyway. And so, and I did this all the time. And I told our crew, if we are purchasing something, let's figure out a way to manufacture it, because we're going to be the number one consumer of that product, meaning that we created our own ecosystem, which when we produced the product, the only reason why we produced the product is because there was a demand at the end, but we could create the demand at the end because we had the businesses in the middle. And the reason why I say this is because you created your own ecosystem with the bank in Private Money Club. So not only did you give the people a way to be able to get out of the financial stresses that the number one cause for divorce is because of money, and you help them to be able to understand money at a different place, but that wasn't enough. You actually have given them an avenue to go out and to be able to create deals with that money in Private Money Club. Can you explain this? Because it's absolutely genius.
It's so crazy that you just went through the manufacturer to the distributor to the store to the retail customer, because I guess I never thought about what I did as being that, but it is. So I just explained the process called the infinite banking concept. I explained the product called the specially designed whole life and how that does that. And I explained how that can get you money back on all the cars. You're just being the bank, so you get all the money back on all the cars you ever buy.
Hold on for 1 second, Chris, because there are people who confuse what you're talking about, specially designed, with a very high commission product that pays the agent more than it pays the person for a long period of time. Let's hit that one real quick before we go into Private Money Club.
I guess I always think that people understand that you can design a whole life to do different things. But when you think of a whole life, you just think of what Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman told you. It's a high commission product. It's not good for anybody. The only one winning is the agent and the insurance company. And with a regular whole life, there's some truth to that. It is a very high commission product, 55% of premium. So why would you ever put your money in that thing that Dave Ramsey said is terrible? Because what we design it to be but we literally design it backwards. We put the lowest death benefit on, which is what's commissionable, and we put the highest amount of premium deposits in, so that's your cash value. So we literally built it upside down. So now your costs are at the lowest point they can be by IRS rules, and the amount of money you got thrown in there is all benefiting from that high interest rate that the insurance company gives you guaranteed in the dividends. So in doing that, the only mixed thing, and the reason most people don't know about what I talk about, is because that requires us or anyone who does this type of a whole life to take a 60 to 90% cut in their pay. So then you'd have to go to your financial advisor, financial services professional, or whatever they call themselves these days, and you'd have to say, hey, sir or ma'am, I'd love for you to do a whole life for me the way that I just saw in this video, but they said you have to take a cut in your commission of 60 to 90%. Are you willing to take a 90% cut in commission so that I have 90% more money to use immediately in the next 30 days? Your advisor would laugh at you and say, oh, that isn't possible. That's a lie. It's not a lie. It's been being done this way for hundreds of years. Banks do this. They're the number one purchasers of this. I just learned what the wealthy do. But in doing it, I have to give so you get. We started this whole conversation with giving, and now we're full circle back to it. Like, why does this work? Because I give up my commission so that you get. It's that simple. This isn't some hocus pocus stuff, folks. The whole life is just a stupid product, but it is seriously the best product in the world for what we do, because it is the only one that can pay you interest and dividends on money that you are able to use. The only one. But to do that, I got to give up a whole bunch of income so that you have a whole bunch more money to use immediately. That's it. It's giving at its highest level. So,
well, but it's indicative too, Chris, because, you know, when you're talking about this, when we started, we talked about the difference between transaction and relationship, right? And so a lot of people would look at it and be like, you know, hey, how is it that he could give so much? Well, then we go into this product that I think really, like, for me, it closed the circle and closed the cycle, because when you create your own ecosystem, yeah, and when you create your own ecosystem where you have a place to be able to connect in Private Money Club, it's nuts what can happen, man. And I want my hats off to you, because when I would explain that concept of product to people, it would blow their mind. And I would be like, okay, so let me break it down like this. I said, okay, if I manufactured for 2, I sell it to myself for 4. If I sell it to myself for 4, I've got guaranteed customers, who is me, that I sell it to for 6 to 8. Then I've got guaranteed locked in, because they were the consumers of our business, that I then sold that for 15 to 25 to whatever. So there was a hit every single time. So I was guaranteed, like literally on day of purchase of manufacturing, I was guaranteed to double, if not triple, my money immediately.
I love it.
Okay. Help us to understand this, because again, you've created a culture, and the people who are Chris Naugle people, the Tesses of the world, shout out to Tess, shout out to Debbie Anderson. They are people who talk about your character, your integrity, and then they're like, oh yeah, I do business with him. Talk to us about the Private Money Club, man. We all want to know.
Yeah. So now that we've got this process, this thing, you know, that we're technically manufacturing money. So let's just take it in that context. We're creating a spread. We're manufacturing money by the way that we keep our money in motion. But eventually, when you manufacture money, you got to also have a place to sell that money. That money's got to go somewhere to work. Well, when you run out of debts because you pay them all off, when you buy all the cars that you need, you don't have any more cars, and now all of a sudden you got all this money building up. Who's the best customer? You are. So what I did is I just said there's 2 types of people in the world. I identified the customer. There are people like me at this stage that I'm talking right now that have money. And when I have money, I have one single solitary goal for that money. It needs to go to work for me. That money is not sleeping in. It's got to go to work, because I want to make more money, because I got a lot more lives to help and a lot more charities that need funds and a lot more churches that need wings. Okay. So I need more money. So now that I got more money, now that I have money, what do I do with it to make more? Well, I got to find the other side of the coin, the other people out there, the people like I used to be, people that need money. So now I've identified my customer, people that have money and people that need money. And I've identified the problem. People that have money's problem is they want to make more. People that need money, they need money to make more money. Simple. So now I manufactured a product, a community where now the infinite banking concept, the manufacturer of the money, has a customer. And who's that customer? Me. I'm the bank. So now I take the money and I can lend that money out to people that need money to buy real estate. Why real estate? Well, because it's a tangible asset. It's the one security that I know doesn't get up and drive away. It's one tangible asset that I know where it's at. I can always take it back, and it's security. So now what I do is I lend money in Private Money Club to people that need money, borrowers, and I lend in first secured position. There's second position, everything else, but I always like Ricky Bobby's dad when he got kicked out of the school. He looks back at his son, son, remember this. If you ain't first, you're last. Now, at the end of the movie, he comes, he says, son, I never said that, man. There's second place and third place. And right, there's second position and third position, but I like to be first. Okay. So Private Money Club is simple. It is a dating site for money. Don't make it anything more than it is. Dating site for money. And just like swipe left, swipe right. It is. The app is, you swipe left through deals, you swipe right on one you like. If you're a borrower and you need money, you swipe left through lenders, swipe right on a one you like, and you build a relationship, and then you start doing business. I started this on a napkin almost 3 years ago. This concept, this idea, and it was really self-serving. It was, I had money and I wanted that money to go to work, and I needed good borrowers. So I created education in a community, and I started lending money to these people that I taught how to be good borrowers. And then I was doing this with such success. My friends started saying, hey, man, can I lend on some deals? Well, I guess, yeah, you can lend on Chris's deal and lend on Rob's deal. And they started doing that. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, I wonder how many more people there are like this. So I created a community, and we just used Slack at first. And all of a sudden, it started working. People that had money were coming, signing up, and they were lending to people that needed money, and they were making money. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to build my own site. So we built Beta 1, a site that functioned, but it was pretty garbage. And a lot more people started making more money, solving people's problems. It was cool because I'm like, holy crap. That person wants this person to succeed, and this person wants that person to succeed. It's win-win at a highest level. Nobody's trying to take advantage of anybody, and each party needs each other because the money can't go to work on its own, and the person that needs money can't get money on their own. So the two got to come together. They got to date. And that's all I did. I created Private Money Club to be the first and only dating site for money, but where I actually fulfilled on almost a thing I never even realized, the dream is I didn't just solve that problem. I actually created the first mechanism, which is the first place where the money actually originates in your own banking system. So then when I created my own banking system, I just found a way to make my banking system always and forever have a place for that money to go to work. So I closed the gap. So now nobody can ever say, oh, we got this infinite banking thing and this policy, but I don't know what to do with the money. I don't have any debts. Great. Welcome to Private Money Club, the dating site for your money. Now you get to make money twice, and you get to do it on a secured basis in an environment that no advisor ever will live because they can't get paid. So you get to become a good steward of your money, and you get to become your own bank where you control your money.
I think it's so cool too, because with Private Money Club, when I heard this part of it, because I had explained it to a couple of friends, and they were like, oh, wow, do they take a commission on every deal? And I said, no, it's just, you're just a part of it. There is a fee to be a part of Private Money Club, but your money and your deal is your deal. But I think the coolest thing though, Chris, is what we all understand from this is that your name is more valuable to you than any transaction that you'll ever have, because when someone spends time with you, and I have a network of people, this isn't like, hey, I found the #1 money mentor and now I want to have him on the show. When I found Chris Naugle, I didn't want to talk about what you did. If you go back to the first episode, we did not talk about one thing that you did, except for snowboarding and driving into snow and getting in a car accident with your friend and spinning out on the freeway and doing that stuff. And it's cool because there's so many people, man, that get to know you before they ever need you. And there's very few people, and I want to compliment you on this, because there's very few people that allow that to happen. Because there's people who have firewalls that are like, if you're not in my wheelhouse, I'm not even going to engage with you. If you're not doing a deal with me, or I can't see a deal down the road, then I'm not going to even engage with you. And what you've done is you've mastered this art, and I want to compliment you on it, because you've mastered this art of being able to develop friendships and relationships that Maybe they turn into it, maybe they don't. But all of them have a great taste in their mouth for the name Chris Naugle. And it's incredible and masterfully done, man. And my hat's off to you on that.
You know, and it just goes back to that. It just takes time. A long time ago, I realized something. Actually, I think Greg Reed told me this. He said, you know, you can always make more money, you can always get more riches, but it only takes one thing to destroy a reputation, and a reputation can't be bought. So I've always taken that very serious. And Greg Reed also said one other thing to me, and this is when I first met him at his mastermind at his house. This is way back in the day. I couldn't even afford to go, but I went. And I asked him for the best advice he could give me, and he said, give your best stuff away for free. I thought he was an idiot, man. He said that. I'm just like, Greg, that isn't what I needed to hear, man. I'm not giving my best stuff away for free. That's how I make money. And he's like, give your best stuff away for free. So that's what I do today. I just give my best stuff away for free. Some people, when they go on to my infrastructure, my website, they go to any of the sites, they're like, man, I don't even know what to buy. Like, don't you have a coaching or this? Not really. Private Money Club has the accelerator coaching program. It's tied with the site. But I'm just like, no, I'm not a coach. Like, I'm not going to be a coach. All my stuff's free. Go to my YouTube, go to my website. Like, it's all free because Greg said, give your best stuff away for free. That's what I do. I give it all away. And it's all because I understand that a reputation is the single most important thing. It comes before money. It comes before anything because it is fragile. And when you finally chase the dollar, then all of a sudden, once you start doing that, you start giving away that one thing that can never be repaired, and that's a reputation. It only takes one falter on your reputation to lose it. And then it takes a decade to build it back, if you can even do that. And I just don't want to play that game. So for me, it's always just been about the slow, steady ride to where I want to get. And that slow, steady ride always comes with putting others in front of me and making sure they're successful. And if I make them successful, I'll be successful. Because I'll get all I want in life if I help enough people get what they want. At least that's what Zig Ziglar said. And I know that's the second time. But here's the biggest thing I face in life. and I'm not sorry to keep doing quotes, but this is just how I've learned these things. You know, and this goes back to when I first heard about the infinite banking concept from this guy, Mike. And I thought it was nonsense. I was an advisor. I knew what whole life was. And I knew it was a high commission, terrible product to put your money in. And he tells me, and he's a really wealthy guy, he tells me he's putting his money in a whole life. He said especially designed, but that just went right over my head. And I didn't understand it. And I actually felt bad for him. I actually felt like he was stupid for doing it until I finally understood it. But it comes down to this saying. So pay attention, folks. This is a good one. Will Rogers, okay, you all probably know or have heard of him. He says this. He says the biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. Okay, don't know. He said that's not the problem. He goes on to say the biggest problem in America is what people think that they know that just ain't so. Remember going back to creation versus conformity? So many people don't get where they want to be because they think they know what just ain't so. When really the answer wasn't what they didn't know. They should have just learned what they didn't know. They should have just learned the infinite banking concept and forgot about the fact that, oh, I heard a whole life was a bad place to put your money. Well, maybe you don't know what you don't know. Like, it's such a viable thing because, like, that was where I was at then. And I'll never be there again. I get ideas all the time. Heck, just today, you know, my phone rang. I got done with a podcast and I just answered it. I don't know, phone rang, I answered it. And this guy was dumbfounded on their line. He's like, is this Chris? I'm like, yeah, Chris Naugle. And he's like, oh my God, you answered the call. I'm like, no, you called my phone. He's like, yeah, but I didn't think you'd be answering. I thought I'd be getting some sales call. I said, nope, you got me. How could I help you? You know, and it's just like, why do I need to put barriers up? Like, I can't answer every call like that. But you know what? If my phone rings, if you somehow got lucky enough to find my number, which is pretty hard to do, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to give you my time. And that's just the nature of how it is. Because like now, I'll end up meeting that guy. He's going to come to one of our events we have going on. And he's going to probably be a big part of what we do. I don't know what, but hey, he wants to create, and I'll help him do that.
I think it's incredible, man. I started the podcast because of my kids. I don't know if you've got a chance to meet Maddox and McKenna yet, but I know you've heard of them. But you're going to be spending time with Brooklyn, my wife, and you're going to forget about who I am because everybody who meets Brooklyn, she's the coolest lady on the planet. She's an amplifier of every single person around her, and you're going to forget my name, I promise. But I started the podcast because of Maddox and McKenna. Maddox is 11 years old, marches to the beat of his own drum. My daughter is McKenna, and she is 14 years old. And she has her first boyfriend, which Dad is still going through right now. but she's in theater. She's got the most phenomenal sense of humor, got the biggest heart. She's got the quickest wit. She does not ease up on her dad at all. But I believe that's because she loves me. But I started because of those two, and I wanted to take iconic figures like yourself, and I wanted to show them that, you know, the Chris Naugles of the world weren't idols, that you are simply an icon. And an icon is a person who has a great attitude and phenomenal work ethic. So what advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use both their names and refer to yourself as Uncle Chris, it would be awesome.
All right, Maddox and McKenna, the biggest advice I have for you is don't ever, ever let someone tell you your dream isn't yours and isn't good enough, because they haven't lived your dream. You're the only person that was put on this earth to fulfill that dream. And you're also the only one that can screw that up and not fulfill on it. So create your destiny by following your dreams, and don't let anyone tell you you cannot do that. It's the best advice from Uncle Chris I can give you. Well,
now's the time where I say that you need to check out all the sponsors, of which is this guy right here. And the reason why, like for us, I'm very particular on people who are involved with anything that I do. The reason why is because I always want to bring you the best. And this relationship that Chris and I have is the reason why he's a sponsor on the show. It's not because, you know, hey, we toss the net out and we're like, oh, we hope we catch someone. No, we want to make sure that we're representing people through the show that we believe in, that we believe are the best. And so now's the time that you're going to patronize all the sponsors. Check them out. Click the links. There's links in the bio. Also, too, I want to thank every single one of you for rocking with us since the very beginning when my mic wasn't even plugged in on my first episode. It wasn't. I had a mic in front of me. It was not plugged in, and I just wanted it to look cool. But for those of you who have been rocking since then and been going through all these different aspects and, you know, evolutions of the show, and that you keep sharing it and that you keep sharing it with your family, the greatest thing that you could do for me, the greatest thing, because people always ask me, like, what can I do for you? Number one, you could be my friend. That's it. The second thing is on Apple and I don't know if you could do it on Spotify, but on Apple, do a review. Like, rate it and then do a review. That's a massive thing. The thing on YouTube, and this isn't for anything else but my son thinking I'm cool, smash the subscribe button, because you know you should. It's the right thing to do. And my son thinks I'm cool. He always asks me, he's like, Dad, how many subs you got? Dad, how many subs you got? And if I got more subs and he thinks I'm cool, I want to be cool to my son. So make sure that you do that. Thank yourself, share it, and share it with somebody. If somebody's struggling financially, share it with them. If somebody needs a little bit more financial literacy, which is all of us, share it. Share it with every single person that you know. But Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Second episode, but I'm going to ask for a third. I'm going to ask for a fourth, because there's so many places that we can go with this, you know, for people to be able to experience your genius, and not just your genius, but your character. And what I mean by that is that you're the same in the dark as you are in the light. When I get a chance to talk to you when you're off stage in the back of the room when no one's looking, you're the same Chris Naugle that's standing on the stage and presenting. And I want to compliment you on that, man.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, this won't be my last time, I promise.
It has been absolutely amazing. And Chris, you're officially off the hot seat.
Woohoo! It was awesome.